Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Aleph podcast. आज मेरे साथ हैं Nadir Shahzad Khan from, you may know him from his band Sikandar ka Mandar or from his filmmaking work or anything else you may have done in between.
I made some of my own songs recently.
Yeah, exactly. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you back in Karachi as well.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know, Karachi, I always will gravitate back to Karachi. I was born here. I have all my great friends here. काम भी ज़्यादातर यहाँ पे होता है अच्छा खासा. So yeah, it's nice to be here. Nice to be back.
Yeah. How was the stint in Islamabad? You were there how much
I was there for 4 years. And mostly like I was working from home over there. I had a job beach mein, but then I was working from home over there as well. But mostly I did a lot of film work over there, a lot of documentary based work over there, some ad based work. But I mean it's definitely peaceful living, but it's also
it's a big change of pace.
Very big change of pace. Like वहाँ पे अगर यहाँ पे एक चीज़ एक दिन में हो रही है वहाँ पे 2 हफ्ते में हो रही है. Like it's just Islamabad standard time. So yeah,
that could be nice in a way.
I mean, yeah, but like you want things done.
Yeah, that's true.
And
but yeah, I mean, so I've obviously we first met when back in the indie days of the Karachi scene.
Yeah.
We're talking like 10 years ago or so.
That's right.
But yeah, why don't you talk us through how that came to be? What was your kind of first musical memory, let's say, really being turned on by the idea that you would like to maybe do music?
I mean, I think I was in 10th grade and I asked my dad for a guitar and he was like, nope. And मैंने फिर ईदी इकट्ठी की and मैंने 2500 रुपए का एक गिटार खरीदा था. सही जिसमें वो I mean it's the Karachi term for it is a chakra. That's what I got, and I learned all the basic chords and everything on that. And then they were like, "Acha, okay, fine. Like seems like you're interested in this. Let's get you electric guitar." So I got this. I think my mom went to China.
Oh wow!
And she got this like Japanese, not a Fender but a Strat. I think it was the brand was a Toyama.
Okay.
And it was a very heavy Strat. I mean, Strats are not heavy. That guy was very heavy.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I found this guy in my school called Hamza Khalid. He wanted to be a drummer, and he was very rock karte hain, and you're into the same kind of music. I was into grunge back then, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and and he was into like Slipknot. And I was like, okay, I mean this is the best I'm getting here. I was in a boarding school, and this guy was in the day scholar portion of the school, and
so you were actually boarding there?
I was boarding there. Yeah.
Within Karachi,
yeah. Basically, like मेरे parents का ये सीन था ना, ये पढ़ता नहीं है, इसको boarding school में डाल दो, इसको.
अच्छा.
He needs the army discipline. Little did they know, I'm going to turn out into this. But खैर जो भी है, मतलब कि parenting is hard.
Yeah.
I know that now. I'm a dad. So Mashallah. So, sorry if that interrupts the audio.
No.
But, so basically, that's when I met Hamza Khalid ka jo neighbor tha was Shajie. Okay? This was in 10th grade. And Shajie became my best friend. And, we formed a band together. So there was Hamza, Shajie. Shajie was playing lead guitar.
Yeah.
And then there was this guy called Talha. He was also Malir Kant ka. So these guys all lived in Malir Kant. My school was in Malir Kant.
What was that band called?
It was a band called Shade. Okay. Not very proud of the name, but it is what it is. And we used to do Pearl Jam covers, System of a Down ke covers, and Tool and just that new metal grunge sort of thing. This went on until my A-level days in Licol, and then we just kind of split apart.
But you guys never like wrote your own song?
We did. I mean, as embarrassing as it is to say, my first song was an English song that I wrote about how much I hate my sister. But I mean, I was a kid, so I don't hate her anymore. But ye tha, and then I made my first couple of Urdu songs in that band as well, and I think that's when I was like, "Acha, this is a thing I can do," and it's like say it was very typical grunge sounding, but I was like, okay, I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And I took those songs A levels mein. My junior used to be Daniel Hayat. So I took those songs to him one day, and he was doing Mole back then, or he started Mole back then, and I took those songs to him. He was like, okay, come over, we'll make demos and stuff like that. So that one thing led to another. I went to university, and I still was kind of pursuing writing music, and eventually I formed with my whatever pseudo artistic brain. I formed Sikandar Ka Mandar.
So what was behind the name or the idea initially?
Well, I mean, literal English translation, Temple of Alexander, and back in the day, वो जो शीला मुसलमान होता है ना, वो youth में I was very interested in the history, and how Yajuj Majuj was kind of locked up by Zulkarnain, and I wanted to give tribute to Zulkarnain, who's also kind of in some historical writings के वो सिकंदर भी हो सकता है.
Yeah, some people believe,
I think the Iranis don't. They kind of are like, Sikandar wasn't cool. But there are some scriptures that believe that Zulkarnain was Sikandar, and he's the guy who shut down. I just thought it was also a cool name. It rhymes. So
I mean, it is a cool name for sure.
Yeah, so it did come from like a tribute to what he did, and tribute to greatness rather. Like just how human beings can just be awesome. So
I mean, that's like basically prophetic level of awesomeness.
For sure.
But yeah, it's I guess the name always intrigued me. But what was the idea in terms of like, was there a vision behind अच्छा music Urdu में होगा या इस certain type of genre होगा, grunge type होगा, या or you just let it's just a matter of what came out at the moment?
Musically, or rather like writing wise, I just always wanted to make awesome. Like I wanted to push the envelope in terms of who I could be, and at that time obviously I was a kid. I didn't know too much about the world, and whatever I did know or whatever I thought was greater than me, I would strive for that through my writing or my music, right? And that was the concept.
That's a pretty cool way to put it actually, because when you think about it, that's probably what most kids, when they're dreaming to be musicians, that's how they're kind of synthesizing the things that are inspiring them into something that they.
But like there was always this thing, and there's actually there was a girl once in my life who was like, okay, you're gonna pursue music, that's fine, but don't ever do like Iqbal Ghalib type ki cheez. And I was like, why? Because I was listening to Junoon back then, and I loved them. I still like a lot of their songs. But he was like, hey, yaar, ye matlab ke you can be yourself and still be respected, And I found that, like, I took that to heart, and I was like, मुझे खुद ऐसी चीज मैं भी तो हूँ कुछ,
which ironically is what Iqbal is trying to explain.
That's right. Yeah. I've heard that song too. Yeah. So but basically that was the thing.
Interesting. So उसका initial जो first lineup था उसमें कौन था?
So the first time that Sikandar ka Mandar did anything musically was a Radiohead tribute concert. Okay. Do you remember it?
No, because I probably wasn't here then.
You were in the UK.
Yeah. What year are we talking?
This is 12, I believe.
So probably just before I came.
So in that lineup there was Daniel Panjwani. There was Danny Hayat.
Yeah.
On
drums.
No, he wasn't on drums. He was playing some guitar, some keys.
Okay.
उस तरह से. There was Fazan Ridinger.
Yeah.
He was playing the keys. There was Ahmed Mohammed. You remember Ahmed Mohammed? He was the drummer for Ash.
Okay.
Right?
Ash maybe, wasn't it you and Ash?
I wasn't playing drums for Ash. I was playing guitar and backing vocals for Ash.
Right. So, but you were in Ash.
I was in Ash. Oh, I forgot that whole history of me. But yeah, this is around the Shade times.
Yeah.
They were a grunge Nirvana cover band, and then they made their own originals as well. And then who else? Am I missing someone? And then someone's gonna kick me in the ass. No, I think it was them. And how we did I think we did about 15, 16 Radiohead covers.
Nice.
And then the last song was The Pot. And I was like, yeah. So I really enjoyed doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the first lineup. But that was just like a arzi taur pe lineup, just so that I could get out there. I actually recruited Usman Riaz as well to play guitar for that gig, but he was like, no, I'm out. So, but yeah, it was just like, everyone just come and help me out sort of thing.
Yeah.
Eventually, I found SHEHZAD Humera, great bass player, amazing sitar player, great musician generally, beautiful musician. And then Daniel Hayat.
Yeah.
But I feel like SHEHZAD inspired a lot of the first album wale gaane, because his bass lines kind of were he did give me a lot of ideas for how to make my songwriting larger than what it already was.
Right. In terms of arrangement or
No, and just in terms of songwriting or structure generally, because I would be playing 4 chords, but he'd be playing 16 notes, so he's got this really he found these places to put notes, and it would help me with my singing as well. So it was it was just like a guitar based drums kind of band back in the day, where it just kind of became he filled it up.
That's it. Did he have a musical background, or was he self-taught?
For the most part, he the bass he learned himself, but he was learning sitar from an ustad.
Right.
So
that kind of figures then.
He was also I recorded him play sitar with his ustad on Lussun TV.
I think I remember that.
Lussun TV 1.
Yeah.
So and also yes, this was also around the time when Lussun TV 1 was being formed, because when that Radiohead tribute gig happened, we found bands like Orange Noise and Mole and Jumbo Jet.
Yeah.
Which is I'm waiting, I'm getting there. And then there's Usman Riaz us zamane mein bhi aaya tha. So there was a bunch of people around me. Usman was in Indus with me, so that's how I kind of knew him. So there were all these people around me, and then eventually this little group of people attracted more groups of people, and we, did gigs together, and
Yeah. It became a scene.
it became
actually.
a scene.
Yeah.
It became a scene.
That is what I guess the only real indie scene
Yeah.
that we've had.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because, just a generation before this happened,
Yeah.
if you had a band, then you would either put, single together, it would come on TV,
Yeah.
and the next thing you know, you're a star. But then suddenly the music channels all started disappearing, and then there was YouTube, right?
That's
And
right.
So,
And
I
that
guess
got-
I guess that leads us to how did the Lussun TV idea form? Like at this time,
Yeah.
were you actively also thinking I need to do something film related?
Yeah. No, I wasn't. But basically, what happened was in my final year of Indus, I had to do an internship. Okay, and I went to MTV and asked for an internship. They basically told me कि तुम कोई show का idea बताओ or whatever, and I was like, okay, I started making these comedy sketch videos, and साथ में it was very like SNL-esque,
Yeah.
and साथ में there would be a music section, right? And I was just writing that, or I was just kind of shooting that, and just getting it together when MTV dissolved.
Right.
So ना तो सिर्फ मेरी शो गया but internship भी गया मेरा. So eventually I like इत्तेफाक से अहमद वही drummer Ash का, he helped me get like an internship in Dubai because my mom lives there too, so it was convenient. But then when I came back, all the footage we had done used shot.
Yeah.
We used that to make Lussun TV, and we just released it on YouTube.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, so it started off as a project for MTV,
Yeah.
and then it just became its own thing.
So who was like working with you on that first season? Or was it all basically you?
Just
put
okay,
together?
so well, no, there was all these guys. Like everyone was like a kid back then, so
Yeah.
they wanted to do something interesting,
Yeah.
And we started releasing these. Like there used to be this thing that I used to do with Shajie called Mega Boys, and it was like a just comedy sketch. थोड़ा सा उस तरह का naked tyrant type की हम videos बनाते थे, और comedy songs होते थे हमारे. So we used to release those, and people were like, oh, we want to do stuff like that with you as well. So it just kind of found it birthed itself over there.
Yeah.
And then it eventually became, people like Shajie were also involved. There was BNK, Bilal Nasir Khan. There was, Danny P tha
Yeah.
ek zamane mein. Natasha Ejaz also was helping me out at some point. SN Ali also a
Yeah.
great filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like he shot a lot of the first few lessons. And another cool abhi ban gaya hai filmmaker Kamran Shahnawaz. He documentary maker. He was also shooting for us back in the day. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice like DIY group effort situation.
Completely DIY, no money involved.
Yeah.
This is not how you should start a musical career at all.
Yeah. I mean, you can say that, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot to be said for just not waiting for someone to pay you to do something,
Uncle Bachao.
Yeah. Just do it. Do whatever you can. Do whatever. however
Pepsi
much.
wale uncle या Coke wale uncle
Yeah.
का wait नहीं करो.
Exactly. तो मतलब फिर अली सुहेल से कब मिले?
Right. So this is around the time when that summer vacation was happening. जहाँ पे मुझे internship करनी थी. I was asked to do music for a theater play. Okay, जिसमें I was like, अच्छा खिजर तुम भी आ जाओ. And दूसरे side से he was like, do you guys want a guitar player? And we're like, yeah, sure. So here comes along Ali Suhail. I don't know him. He's this kid from like Beacon House.
Yeah.
I think he's working on ACCA right now or something like that. And he's playing guitar with us, and he's playing these weird chords. And then I'm like, okay, shut up, you come here. You just sit with me, and from now on, you are in Sikandar. And that's it. That's how it happened. And yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I mean, so then, at what point did Sikandar come under, क्या कहते हैं, start writing and recording its album?
So Ali Suhail was already part of Jumbo Jet back in the day. He did youth records with Jumbo Jet very shortly after I met him.
Yeah.
And he had written a lot of music already before me, and he was doing it himself. Like he was doing it in his house. He had a very little bedroom somewhere in Seaview. And
I remember that room.
Yeah, a stinky little room. Yeah. But we would go up to his room, and he had this really Lynx का या किसी का उसका audio interface होता था, और उस पे हम बस recordings करते थे, and basically we would jam.
I mean, it's like the location is so important because you can hear it in all of those early things, and it's part of the sound.
Yeah, you can hear it, you can smell it, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I think, so you're right. Us room that had the first album had a very important influence. Like we would jam out our songs at Daniel's house, for example, and then we would record that on a phone or whatever, and then we would copy what Daniel would be doing on MIDI.
Right.
The drums and everything. Right. And then eventually I think we even recorded some songs live at Daniel's house. Like we recorded with really shitty mics and everything, but like not on a click. We were just like
Azad.
I'm not a professional musician, so whatever. So we just kind of did that, and it became what it was, the first album. Most of the first album, like I think all of the first album is not on a click.
And it has that, because most of the grunge that we grew up listening to is also not on a click.
Not on a click,
And being a producer and all, I can go back and listen and maybe notice the tempo shifts and all. But back then, when you were really into it as a kid, you didn't even notice that.
You didn't notice.
And even now when I hear it, it doesn't sound bad. It sounds like it's adding to the song. Like they're flowing with it.
Yeah.
So, but that's the uske writing process kaisa tha? Like, were these all things that you more or less had before Ali came into the picture, or did you co-write most of the album?
Well, I think I would say more than half of that album was I had already kind of written. But I think it wasn't until the second album when Ali actually, took charge and was like, okay, I want to finish this part.
Right.
But in terms of like musicality, I think the first album Ali did help out quite a bit in that.
Yeah.
I think Ali, the reason why I was so taken to Ali as a musician generally was because like he inspired me to write more, and I think that's generally very important in any musical like band situation, So like when I took like 2 or 3 or 4 songs to him, and then eventually he kind of like inspired me that the way you play that chord is interesting. Why don't you write a song out of that or something like that? So bas ek feel hoti hai. You have this thing, you go back home, you finish the song, and
Yeah, I think what you just said, inspired you to write more. I think he may have had that effect on the entire scene.
Yeah.
Because he was by far the most productive writer. अपनी like उसकी एक EP नहीं आती थी और दूसरी आ रही होती थी, and obviously knowing him, when you'd go hang out with him, he'd play you all these ideas and demos, and you're like, yeah, when is this gonna end? Like this is just endless. So उस वक्त it seemed like काफी shows हो रहे होते थे, when I came in the scene around 2013 के शुरू में, like, you know, kabhi Zabist mein ho raha hai, kabhi Alliance mein ho raha hai, kabhi kahin aur ho raha hai. So how many of those shows were shows that you were invited to play and other people were organizing, and how many did you guys just put up yourself?
Initially, our roots वगैरह I think were made in like places like T2F, Mad School, Bass Rock Cafe, you know. We used to organize those events ourselves. It was cheap. It was, like those places were like our homes, you know. I was managing Mad School, I think the first job out of university.
Acha.
I shouldn't have. Not because like anything on Mad School. I was like, bro, matlab, I could have gotten a good job, you know. But mujhe music karna hai, mujhe, you know, I want to manage music, all of that. So I did a lot of shows over there, and then, you know, God bless Sabine, and I hope Allah unko jannat naseeb kare. She gave us this T2F ka space. And जब भी हमें करना था, हाँ गिग करना है चलो कर लो, you know, तो वो वाला scene होता था. It was always like home. So we did like a bunch. We just put every second week, I think we used to arrange like, you know, एक lineup होती थी. तुम भी कर लो, तुम भी कर लो, तुम भी कर लो, आ जाओ शाबाश. So we'd be practicing during the week, शाम में, and then weekends पे हम gigs करते थे. So eventually, you know, then we started getting like called for shows. Zabist was like, you know, we were invited to our show. Alliance Française was an invite situation. I mean, I couldn't afford to do a show at Alliance Française back then. So yeah, but like it was, there was a lot of hustle. Like, not gonna lie, like, you know, arranging stuff ourselves, you know, paise sound pe lagana, making sure lights are whatever they are. So matlab ke I don't come from money, but you know, I was doing everything like on a completely jitna paise डालते थे उतना वापस आना पड़ता था, you know. So we had to make sure we were marketing properly. We had to make sure we would call everyone, hey, please come to my gig, you know. Ho raha hai. I don't like your music, or it doesn't matter, just come, you know, just fill the space, you know. So बस यही होता था. So and eventually, you know, like eventually our music started to play on the radio, you know, and people started to notice. That's when we started getting invited to gigs.
This is like, how long would you say, like, after? I remember when you guys put out the album, it was on उन दिनों SoundCloud पे हम release करते थे, you know, and you guys got a decent kind of following from there, like, you know. There was a good amount of people who were aware of it and into it back in the day. But radio pe wo how did that, like, what song made it to the radio first?
There was a certain allure about, I don't know how to say that, but about our scene, because there was like कि ये लोग अजीब तरीके से अपना म्यूजिक रिलीज कर रहे हैं, you know, like it was SoundCloud. उस जमाने में YouTube भी I believe ban हो गया था. So we were just finding different ways to like
Lussun TV Vimeo में होता था.
Right, exactly. So like it was just all over the place in terms of how we were approaching people and how we were doing these gigs, and they were like, other people weren't doing gigs like this, you know. बहुत ही, like, it was very punk rock the way it was happening, you know. Like, so I remember the first song, to answer your question, the first song that came on the radio of ours was Joby, and uski Essen made the music video for it, and I was like, yeah, what's the concept? He's like, doesn't matter, you have a good song, it doesn't matter what it is, you know.
TV के साथ भी जो
right, I added that in the end. I was like, कुछ तो होना चाहिए, you know. And but he was like, नहीं, तुम साइकिल चलाओ और बस हम यहाँ पे कुछ शूट कर लेते हैं. And there was Woozy was in the music video, and Ali and me. So
yeah, but I guess it was the first, you know, I think after the super commercial kind of music videos and everything, but I think it was the first example that I remember from the scene of a totally indie kind of situation. You know? और उससे फिर I guess I also thought that, you know, जिस तरह भी video बनाए, we should make a video, right? But of course, other people didn't always agree. I almost never did. So that didn't end up happening. Well, I guess what was unique about you guys is you were all on the same page. कि बस ठीक है, बस करते हैं.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, it wasn't easy, getting everyone on the same page.
I'm sure.
But there was a certain kind of charm to like just doing it totally DIY and totally was ganda, and just like aesthetic-less and just like
but
no
that
formula.
In itself, I think looking back I would say that is an aesthetic.
That is an aesthetic, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, uske baad, there was also this Empower Fest that you put together.
Right.
How did that happen? Like, who was Empower?
So I think I'm forgetting the name, but sorry if I forgot the name. But basically, okay. So I had a friend of ours who was doing this. Well, there was my sister who was doing resettling the Indians back then. She was doing, she was making houses for जो सैलाब और जलजले से जो affectees थे, हाँ, तो उनके लिए घर बना रहे थे. And then there was Empower the Future also, which is, I think वो थर में they were helping out with water and all of that. So we just kind of joined hands, all of us, and we kind of made this concert to and we were like, the proceeds will go to I mean, उस ज़माने में ज़लज़ला हुआ था, उस ज़माने में floods नहीं हुए थे, but होने वाले थे. So we didn't obviously predict that. But I think we were like, okay, let's do something for that. So like a lot of the branding for that was very like NGO type. And we got, I think there were like 10 acts in that concert. And it was like none of the musicians were getting paid. It was all for all the profits or all the whatever was going to these charities. And उसके सुबह एक conference type हुई थी जिसमें वो like we were kind of selling the idea of these NGOs and what they were doing. And then उसके like I think 3 बजे से this show started and it went on to like 10:30 p.m. So I think usme like that was like the indie lineup, usme there was Sikandar Mandar, there was Suhail / Jumbo Jad, there was Natasha Ejaz, there was Shajie, there was I don't know if I'm forgetting something, please remind me.
Iman
Shahid was opened the show and usne jo Killing in the Name, itna crazy.
I also played with Samad and all. I also played with you guys.
You played with us, yeah.
And it was fun.
It was a big concert.
Zoe
Vikaji also played on that gig.
That part I don't remember.
And so matlab ki kafi like it was a mixed bag of a bunch of people, and that was like the core indie scene.
It was, and maybe that was also like the peak in a way. Like there wasn't a bigger show than that. And slowly I guess then at what point did you play your first show in Lahore or Islamabad?
I think I played my first SKM gig in Lahore at True Brew. Also, True Brew was... it
was going strong at that time.
It was an amazing place. Jamal ka sound बहुत amazing होता था live gigs के लिए.
बिल्कुल.
And I mean, just a great place for these indie acts to...
And always just like, the... So जो लोग उधर fit आते थे, they would always be just really, musically educated, and know the songs
audience.
and
Yeah, for sure. Like a lot of like like काफी fit लोग वहाँ से उन्होंने जो videos बनाई थी वो quality sound and quality video
Yeah.
होती थी उनकी and yeah, I think 2012 was the first SCAM gig over there. You know, they were like, "Who are you? Okay, come, let's see what you've got." And then we performed some songs. They ended up releasing, I think, a couple of songs from that concert. Usually they were like ek gana per band hota tha, and I was like, you know, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great. There was ek dusri duniya unhone release kiya tha hamara, and there was a ton of auto tune on my voice, and I was like, I love it. I was like, I didn't know I could sound that good, you know. So matlab ke yeah, I think that was the first time, and then that's when I met Daud Rame and
Right.
Zain Pirzada and all these guys, and Misbah.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I met. Misbah was playing bass for us in that concert. Daud was playing drums for us.
Yeah.
Yusuf as well. So you know, that's where I met them, and then eventually I think because हमारा जो Lahore में थोड़ा सा एक people started to get to know us, slums started to get to know us quite a bit. उन्होंने notice किया हमें. That's when Natasha Noorani noticed us. Okay. And that's when we started to get invited to LMM. So then we became the cool Lahore band as well.
Yeah. So how many times did you go to LMM as SKM?
I think 3 times. So 2 times we did the outside thing, and then once we headlined the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was probably at all of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that headline show was really spectacular.
Oh, what a show. And again, Jamal did the sound for us.
Yeah.
Crazy sound. Just generally like immaculate vibes.
Yeah, it was just really well put together.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a real shame that didn't continue, you know. Uske baad, I think शायद एक maximum 2 और LMMs हुए थे.
Listen, it's tough, like, you know, person being, we're both in music management.
Of course,
have been.
Yeah.
I have been in music management.
Yeah.
And these 2 girls, Zara and Natasha, the fact that they're doing it by themselves, it's a huge thing.
Yeah, the fact that they pulled off whatever 4 or 5 editions.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's amazing that they did it.
Yeah.
First of all, and they continue to do it, and मतलब कि उनमें था एक जोश.
Yeah.
It's fine if it's over, honestly, because like the kind.
Well, I mean, the thing is कि अब हो भी तो उधर bands कौन आएंगे? Like, there's not too many active bands these days.
You know, music has changed since we stopped playing.
Yeah, it's like we're the last.
Like, you know, okay, जो हम बातें कर रहे हैं ना अभी, I don't think an indie scene could happen now in this year. Okay, because the way music has changed right now, it's very like, you know, because of Spotify, everything is algorithmic. You know, you have to. Everyone has, like, you know, all these Manus and Hassan Rahims and they're all just like playing to the algorithm. You know, unka whether they are or not, unka ek niche bana hua.
Yeah, and it's self perpetuating in that sense. But I mean, this is definitely true that music goes through cycles, you know, and and because of the nature of what they're doing, it's mostly electronic based. There's not often any real instruments being played. It's all just samples.
Bro, but
but at some point,
Splice बहुत amazing चीज़ है.
ज़रूर, but at some point, I definitely think कि लोगों में वो होगा, you know, at least कुछ. Maybe someone in some of the upcoming generations will be like, yeah, screw this. We still want to play music live. And maybe they have their friends group that is supporting them, and maybe that becomes bigger. So it, you know,
one thing I will say though, in their defense, like, they're doing everything right in terms of, like, you know, putting out consistent music.
Yes.
You know, making sure that they have like a presence, you know. उनका एक scene है basically, like, you know, they're constantly doing stuff, you know, और hustle है boys में. Boys and girls में. So I really respect that, you know.
Yeah, no, they're working hard. But the fact is कि it's not like we didn't work hard
Yeah.
when we, were active in that scene, or that I am not working hard with
Yeah.
Aleph, or, whatever it
Of
is.
course.
So, that
No,
part
I'm,
of it.
I'm not putting you or me
No,
down
no,
at
no,
all.
no, no, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's interesting how, you, whether you are with the zeitgeist or you're not,
Yeah.
in terms of the mass listening, that makes all the difference, whether, you go from
Yeah.
just doing your own booked shows for
Of
your
course.
200 fans, or
Yeah.
you go into like being featured on Times Square and shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
So-
definitely. Yeah.
So it's like, life isn't fair, but this is quite stark
Yeah,
in the
matlab-
music scene.
Honestly, Allah deta hai, bro.
Huh.
And like, at the end of the
Bilkul.
day, like, if you have to be famous, you will be famous. And
Yeah.
there's nothing that can stop you.
Yeah, and but at the end of the day, like we didn't, or I didn't necessarily, and judging from your musical output, we didn't get into this to get famous.
Right,
It
right.
was like our own kida.
Yeah.
ke we like this kind of music, we like this riff that I just came up with,
Yeah.
or whatever, and want to do something with it.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
was just
that's
about taking it as far as it can go.
Definitely that's the differentiation.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, it's not like I do respect it, what
Yeah.
they do,
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe not my thing. I don't think I can make like hip hop or rap music, Like, just look at these like young stunner dudes. Like, they would release a song every week
Yeah.
for a while,
Put it this way, like, do you think if some of us who were active in the indie scene released with the same frequency till now,
Yeah.
and if we had not just gone off and
Yeah.
put it away for a while or whatever, do you think it would have breached the level that these guys are breaching now?
Let's try and find out.
Yeah, I mean, it still can
It
be
hasn't
done.
happened yet.
It still
so,
can be done.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
Ali Suhail was like very like
He was
high
on the
volume.
cusp of it.
Yeah.
Then वो भी रुक गया.
Yeah. I think वो albums निकालता था छोटी. And and then there used to be this band called 6LA8. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Bro, उनके इतने ज़्यादा albums हैं और बस गाने बनाते रहते थे वो. अभी I think they've stopped making music, but वो भी एक scene था. But I don't know, I guess like, like
Because
I said,
I mean, the thing I keep going back to as an example, is a lot of the bands that nowadays, not talking early 90s when it was still major label ka scene, and label saw some A&R guy, saw a guy, they scope out all the clubs, they know which bands are good, and before their first album drops, they're already on a big
Yeah.
label. But in the 2000s, things were a bit different.
Yeah.
Labels didn't have that kind of
no, not at all.
pull or budgets or anything like that.
Yeah.
And bands that I eventually grew up listening to through my 20s were, for example, Opeth. Until their 5th or 6th album, I think they all had day jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I say to, people who say कि यार कोई फायदा नहीं है म्यूजिक करने का, कुछ होगा नहीं.
Yeah.
I was like, कितनी albums तुमने की हैं? And maximum
Yeah.
someone's done 3 or 4. Only Ali Suhail can maybe say he's
Yeah.
done a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And then people give up,
Yeah.
or they have to give up because they
Yeah,
get married and
of
they have
course.
to pay for, the
Bills.
family and bills
Yeah.
and all. So it is interesting that, there's both cases of we've tried hard, but maybe we didn't try hard enough.
Yeah.
And maybe we just missed the boat somewhere. Or
Yeah.
maybe the boat is to come.
No, bro. The way I see it is that, like, our divine purpose, is कि भाई मतलब कि हम भेजे गए with this artistic sort
Yeah.
of, creative sort of mind.
Yeah.
And our job was to just entertain people and make them feel good for 3 minutes and 30 seconds,
There's that. I mean, sure. But at the same time, matlab agar aap, just in terms of, for example, the name of Sikandar ka Mandar,
Yeah.
the story you said, a lot of kids may never have heard
Yeah.
of Yajuj Majuj or kya kehte hain, Zulkarnain, or the
Right.
theory that Alexander is, and this is just something, maybe they're watching their podcast and they've been
Yeah.
listening to the music for a while,
Yeah.
and now maybe it goes deeper for them, so
Yeah.
this is a live thing is what I'm trying to say, and we don't have any control over what came out through us,
Yeah.
which is something we were talking about offline, and b, at what point would it be a trigger for someone to do something important
Yeah.
in the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that could be 50 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be after we die,
I mean, we're not irrelevant, from any means.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, kya kehte hain, coming back to the journey, I guess. So then you guys did the second album,
We did. Yeah.
and it was very different from the first.
It was very different from the first. I think, again, going back to what I said about what Ali Suhail did, he was very much more involved in the second album in terms of the songwriting as well. And then a major catalyst in finishing that album was Zara Paracha as well. Like, she was like, Khatam karo ye, you've got all these songs, why aren't you finishing them? So she added her side to the album. She was very proactive in finishing those songs, and also mixing and engineering that album. We had Raheel play drums on that, we had Daud play drums on that, we had sequence drums as well. So matlab ke there was, and then just a bunch of we decided ke bas jo bhi aa raha hai, bas like all the influences, like most of those songs don't sound alike at all.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was like, there was still like a weirdly similar genre in the first album. I don't think any of the second album had a genre.
It's much more experimental.
Yeah.
It was called 36,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So uski, I know you told me the story,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
kya hai wo story?
Well, I mean, it comes from a Jewish tradition, which is basically that at all times in the world there are 36 people who are praying for the world to persevere, for goodness to persevere in the world, and for life to continue. And jab ek mar jata hai, uski jagah koi aa jata hai. There's always these 36 who exist.
Yeah.
And the song was like a tribute to those guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
So since SKM has kind of been more on hiatus, I would say, you've also released Atomy Event, your own single.
Yeah.
And was it just a single, or was there more than one song?
So I released Bojh later with Natasha Noorani. And उससे पहले मैंने I produced a rap song with this lady by the name of Honey Jam. Hania Chabla उसका नाम. So I did that. I thought I should try to be young and cool, but that's not working for me. But हाँ, मतलब कि ये मैंने किया. There's I've made a bunch of songs now. मगर वो मैं अपने घर पे वो बस डेमोज की शेप में रखे हुए मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा, और I don't know what to do with them, and I don't I was in a very transitional phase of my own music and my own self as well. तो मतलब कि I don't know if I was confident enough to release that music, but there's more music coming out now which I'm a lot more confident about. तो देखते हैं क्या होगा.
What music are you referring to?
So I made a lot of music starting from the pandemic.
Right.
Pandemic mein, actually it was great for me, honestly. I was working completely from home. I was making a bunch of money because I was teaching and I was doing a lot of film editing work. I started doing film editing work because of pandemic. And उसकी वजह से जो म्यूजिक आया वो एक बहुत irritating सा period था for me music wise, because I was like मेरा sound क्या है, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा मैं क्या करूँ. But now I feel a lot more myself. I feel like I had a bit of a existential like half life crisis,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
कि भाई मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ अपनी क्या किस तरह की म्यूजिक है मुझे पैसा नहीं मिलता है मेरी म्यूजिक का I am shit la 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 no confidence whatever. I've come to accept who I am now more so. You know, I've come to accept my purpose. Like having a child is for me was the most amazing thing in my life. You know, it gave me so much purpose. It gave me clarity. Gave everything that I've done so far in my life like has come full circle. कि मुझे इस छोटी सी चीज के लिए मुझे सारा कुछ करना पड़ा. I had to go through that whole circle of bullshit in order to make this guy happy. You know. तो उसकी वजह से जो clarity की वजह से I started to write things which are completely me, and I started to realize that all the sounds and the music and the writing that I was doing was very resonant of first SKM, you know, but more mature, you know. So I've made like 3-4 songs in that realm. It's I mean I've been a dad for like 4 months now. So like, you know, it's tough, but it's obviously, but it's also amazing. So the time that I do get to myself, I do try to write, and I've written 4-5 songs in that.
Yeah, उनकी हमने बात करनी है अभी off camera, but no, I'm looking forward to whatever shape that they take. But the main thing is it's good that you are continuing to make music, you know. But there is another somewhat related side of you, and you're also a filmmaker.
I am, yeah.
So tell us about, you know, how is that going, and you know, at what point did you decide while doing music this is something you want to pursue professionally?
So right out of school, I was I studied to be a graphic designer. I graduated in that, and when I saw like how design is in Pakistan and how I'd have to get into an advertising job and all that, I was like, no, that's not happening, right? So फिर मैंने I just was pursuing film, and I was doing music, and then I was making film for music. And that kind of was like, okay, I think I can do this. You know, I can do this on my own. And so I took a few film jobs. I learned on the job. I think the first film job I had was this place called Ecoba Productions, and वहाँ पे I learned how to edit a documentary or even shoot and make a documentary. The boss just kind of threw me into the deep end. He was like, जाके shoot करो, जाके edit करो, खुद से सब कुछ करो, मैं नहीं बता रहा. So that was like you know, it was an amazing like learning experience. And then उसके बाद से just, you know, all these music videos, and then I started making short films, and then I eventually got the chance to be the first AD of a feature film. So, you know, eventually आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके I started to get my own director jobs. I started doing ads. I started doing documentaries. I started doing like corporate videos and podcasts and stuff like that. And
which of those like film genres or like jobs would you say is your most like what you enjoy the most in film?
You know, I do as sell out as it sounds, I really like writing ads. I really like directing and writing ads. Like, you know, and
it's a challenge, I guess.
It is. And mostly clients hate my ideas. But when that जब lock हो जाता है ना एक idea, एक मजे का client भी समझ रहा है कि bro तेरा good scene है. Because I do like to push the envelope when it comes to idea making, and I think I do bring like a certain humor to the work that I do generally. So I think I do like humor and quirkiness and maybe a fantastical little element to the kind of work that I do.
Yeah, and maybe I would say, I don't know how your experience is, but that part of your creativity, which was already apparent in the early SKM stuff
Yeah.
and the video stuff that you
Yeah.
used to do, BTS stuff that you guys used to do, all that.
Yeah.
But I feel like, and that time it had its niche market.
Right.
But I feel like the audiences are now more kind of educated in that sense to understand that kind of quirkiness
Yeah.
today
Yeah.
than they were maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, for sure. I think deadpan humor generally, like, or just I think the foundation of my humor when it comes to a visual humor was like for sure like shuru mein The Office,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is why even today when I'm editing a documentary, for example, I always go back to the example of The Office because it's like, अच्छा यार मुझे इसका radio cut करना है अभी. I don't know what to do with this. How is this going to go forward? Let's think of The Office. Office में एक comedy like scene होता था और फिर उसके around they would have this voiceover, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have a voiceover that so whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that was definitely the foundation that helped me. And then Taika Waititi films, like I used to love Taika Waititi films, especially as like very early stuff. Eagle versus Shark and What We Do in the Shadows. That kind of humor just was. I was very much. I loved it very much. A lot of people didn't get it back in that day, but now they do.
Yeah.
With times change.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think exposure of the local audience, YouTube एक वक्त पे बंद था फिर खुला, and then Netflix भी अब आ गया, and there's a lot more exposure to more variety now as opposed to what they were used to from local kind of
That's right.
Content houses and stuff. But yeah, क्या कहते हैं, it's been, I think we've covered a lot of history and ground.
Quite a bit,
Abhi, what's coming up for you next?
Well, I mean, fatherhood for now.
Yeah.
That's my main collab with my wife and goal in life, and just having a stable kind of life. If I come out with music, I'd be lucky. But I'm just very happy being a family man right now.
Sounds good, and all the best for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all your efforts in the indie scene and inspiring so many people.
Well, that's sweet of you. Thank you.
No, definitely, and me included.
Thank you.
क्या कहते हैं, I think we have some fan questions.
Oh, we do?
Which is our final segment. So we'll get to that. So, Ahmed Sultan asks, why did you not perform at the Licol 2007 Battle of the Bands competition?
So, Ahmed Sultan is one of my best friends. And basically, he was with me in Licol. And I was supposed to perform, at the Licol Battle of the Bands. And we had kind of made a band together. There was this guy and there's this girl who was playing drums. And that was me. And हमने एक गाना like practice किया था sort of एक बार और time नहीं मिल रहा था. It was Black by Pearl Jam, right? And we had to perform that, and there was like I think Lyceum का भी band था और Grammar का भी band था. And at the end I was like, right before the concert, I couldn't because like उन लोगों ने practice नहीं किया था, and we were just completely out of time and everything. So मैंने बोला bro मैं नहीं कर सकता. So they took the same sort of chords and everything, and Ahmed Sultan performed like a poem that he had made.
Oh.
And that was the official Licol thing. And I'm not going to tell you the name of the song because it's kind of non-PC.
Yeah.
And nobody knew the name of the song either. But I found it like to be the most bravest and the most amazing thing for him to do, like right off the bat. So...
Well, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
And then there is, Radio Red 94. How much, if any, part does queerness play in your art, especially songwriting? That's an interesting question.
It is very interesting because a lot of my music has been appreciated by the queer community. And it's like not intentional. What I do realize is that a lot of the lyrics that I write have to do with me not being accepted by society,
Yeah.
and which is how I have felt even like as a kid, because like I wasn't accepted as an artist in my family at all. And then I had to like prove myself, right? And I feel like a lot of like queer people do feel like that as well. They feel oppressed and they feel like they need to prove themselves. So I feel like in that way we kind of resonate with each other.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I mean, I think maybe also there's in every male there is feminine energy as well, right? And has nothing to do with being queer, but or you could say it's the part of the emotional body which, being in a patriarchal society, you're discouraged from displaying. And I think you have to tap into that part, being a male artist, to some extent, to be authentic with your writing,
Well, do you think I have feminine energy?
No, but I think not feminine energy, but I would say it's the softer part of the male which can be perceived as feminine energy, Okay. Because there's in Sikandar Ka Mandar, I feel there's exploration of, the spectrum of emotion, let's say, rather than just focusing on being angry music or being rebellious music.
For sure. I hear you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any comments, questions, anything, please drop them below. And thank you, Nadir, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And inshallah, we'll make some music together as well.
Inshallah.
But do tune in next time. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.